Hi, my name is Dr. Habib Dalhoumi. I'm the medical director of Inspire Wellness, and today I'm super excited to have two of my most favorite patients on to discuss women therapy, hormone therapy, bioidentical therapy, and I'd love to start an interview process where we can learn a little bit about the benefits, potential risks, different stories, and how bioidentical hormones might help you. So I have two of, like I said, one of my most favorite patient friends, Bonnie and Lisa. I was going to share that Lisa you just turned 50, right?
Yes, last year.
Yes, perfect. I remember because you're a Libra like me. And then Bonnie you're 64?
64.
Perfect. And we'll talk about you and your husband together separately when I talk about hormone therapies as a couple. But right now I wanted to focus on hormone therapies, bioidentical hormone therapies for women, and then a little bit of education. The goal here today really is to educate and kind of inspire other women to understand more about hormone therapies, where they are today, 2017, how things have evolved, and how if you aren't aware and not able to take advantage, that you're really losing out not just on symptoms of menopause, but also the protection of what those hormones do on the body for longevity and quality of life. So maybe we can start with Lisa. We've been working together for about, maybe 3 years plus, something like that?
Yeah, I was thinking it's over 2 years, definitely.
Okay, perfect. And we do a number of different things together.
Yeah.
Today I want to focus on hormone therapies. You are sort of, I would consider you kind of the atypical female, meaning you're very fortunate in the fact that you didn't have significant menopausal symptoms. Mm-hmm. Menopause is one of these things where the so-called sex hormones, the hormones of the ovary, start to fall at a significant pace. But prior to that perimenopausal period, which could be a few months or it could be a decade, 10 years, there are a lot of symptoms that can evolve related to the decline of those sex hormones. We started therapies, I want to say, like in your late 40s, maybe 48, something like that, right?
Yeah, I think it was 48.
Okay. And so can you describe what you noticed, how we started talking about hormone therapies?
Well, you were always suggesting that I should get tested at my age because of perimenopausal, the benefits of going on hormones at a younger age. And by the time I figured that something was starting, I went to you, and unbeknownst to both of us, I was completely past.
Full-blown menopause, right?
So my symptoms were because I was completely done, and as you had found out, I was completely lacking progesterone and estrogen.
Perfect.
So now with the help of the bioidenticals and taking them and feeling a little bit better energized, getting better control of my weight. I think the weight gain was really what bothered me the most.
Well, for you, that
was such a big deal for me because
Okay.
I worked out all the time and I couldn't control what was going on. So, yeah.
So, maybe an audience is going to look at you is going to say, well, how would you have difficulty with weight, right? But that was yours. And it's a scenario where weight management and weight control, being in control of your own weight, is a major factor. I mean, if I were going to look at symptoms we'll just talk about females in general from any age, but let's just focus on mid-30s to 50 or 60, weight control is probably the top of the list. Yeah, there are symptoms of full-blown menopause that will take precedence. They'll quickly come to the top. But if you take that group and you say, well, what is difficult? What has become more difficult? What is a true challenge that maybe wasn't a challenge before? Weight management or controlling your weight is probably the top of the list. And it's not vanity. I mean, we know now weight management and the ability to carry excess fat, it's tremendous in what that means for your overall wellness and disease processes and things like that. So what I was going to dwell on is the fact that you found it difficult to manage your weight despite the way you look now and the way you looked back then. But for you, this was something that meant it meant a lot for you. And we were able to say, okay, well, let's give you back the ability to have that kind of metabolism that you had maybe back when you were in your 20s. Right? And you may not have had full-blown menopausal symptoms, and we can talk about that in just a bit. But in your case, restoring those hormones back to youthful levels gave you the ability to sort of indirectly feel how you felt back then, so that now those diet changes and movement changes and all the things you had done in the past now had the same sort of effects. And there's no reason that at age 50 or 64 that you can't be in the best shape of your life. There at all. Can we talk a little bit about your experiences then, Bonnie?
Sure.
So we met also, I would say, just under 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I've been treating you and your husband. You came to me, you had already been on hormone therapies for about a decade, I think, before we met.
Just about.
Right? So that would have put you also at a similar age probably, right then, right around 50 when you started
I was in
hormone
my
therapies.
early 50s.
Okay. So can you talk about your experiences back then? So symptoms of menopause, why and how you sought it out? Because you were also in an era where we were still kind of stuck on synthetic hormone replacement therapies, and a lot of the discussion as to benefits, risks, a time when we were pushing synthetic hormone replacement therapies for all women going through menopause, and then eventually started pulling them off because of the potential risks. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I had a hysterectomy, so I went into immediate menopause. And my body was not my own anymore. I didn't even recognize it. I put on 25 pounds in a few months, could not get that weight off. My libido, my energy, my confidence was gone. I felt my body going into a spiral. I was already feeling like an old woman, and I knew that wasn't right. I knew that there was something out there that would help me. I began to research. I found a local doctor who did bioidenticals and began that process, and that was early on in the bioidentical process.
Right.
Doctors did throw different chemical, synthetic hormones at me, and none of them worked, and they made me feel really awful.
Okay.
I knew they weren't right. I couldn't stay with them long term and didn't get any benefits.
Right.
So then when I found the particular doctor who helped me immensely, within 3 months I was better than my old self,
Nice.
better than I'd been in a long time.
Right.
And then I was on them, like you said, for probably a decade, and then he was retiring. What do? I heard about you, and I also knew that because you're on the cutting edge, you're paying attention to the most recent research in bioidenticals,
Right.
that you were going to make sure I stay balanced. And one of the first things I remember you doing is putting me on progesterone, which was something that they didn't do. They didn't think
Exactly.
it was necessary.
Right.
And that was a shift, as well as balancing out and watching the numbers more consistently.
Perfect.
So that I would get the best response possible.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. In the past, we were kind of stuck on treating estrogen. Everything about hormone therapies and everything about menopause was give back estrogen. And now we realize, with or without a uterus, there are receptors for all of those hormones throughout the whole body. They're not just in the uterus. And so we want to make sure that we're restoring complete balance and not sort of lopsided balance. And we talked about estrogen, you mentioned progesterone, and then testosterone, which is really huge for females. We'll talk about that in the couples group as well as with men. And it's not a male hormone. I could speak at length, and I've done that before about testosterone specifically, but it's one of those hormones, a true vitality hormone that we want to make sure we keep in good levels throughout. We're living 30 years longer now than we did just a century ago, and there's no reason that you want to not age gracefully. So, yeah, perfect. Thank you for sharing. Any last comments or anything else you guys wanted to add?
I would add, just because of some of the comments she made, I felt like I'd been to other doctors before you who didn't test me, didn't do anything. They just assumed I was fine. Right. And you were the one, you took the time and you got to know me and you asked a lot of questions, which a lot of other doctors didn't. And I appreciate that.
Perfect. Excellent. I'm glad. Thank you. So again, Dr. Dalhoumi, Inspire Wellness. You just heard testimonials. Again, perfect stories, very typical. If you'd like to learn more, please contact us at inspiresd.com.